Thank you for coming to this interview. My name is Daniel Vigh, and I work at Zen Studios. And it's bright early in the morning right now at you. All right? Is it true?
It's 9 a.m.
9
here.
a.m.
Yeah, not super early, but we're still waking up.
Yeah, from the lights. And could you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Bug Emery, and this is Lucas Kestner.
Nice to have you here.
So, and we're two of the designers from Halloween Pinball and Ultraman Pinball.
Wow, very nice. Okay, I will have some questions regarding those tables for Halloween for sure. So why don't we just start with my first question is like Snoopy Pinball is like relatively new on the pinball market, and I was wondering what were the main reasons that set you on course to creating physical pinball machines, and especially why like most of your tables are horror themes, which I really love. But what's the decision behind that? What was the thought process?
Well, about 8 years ago, my dad was doing printing work in a printing company that he'd been working for 20 plus years, and he'd always had an extreme love for the hobby. And around the time JJP had just released Wizard of Oz, and it was a huge deal. Pinball was starting to make a very big comeback. So he wanted to take the chance and start his own business because he really loved the hobby. And he was very good friends with Ben Heck at the time, who had America's Most Haunted, our very first game design, and Ben allowed us to build 150 units of that. So my dad just went ahead and went for it. And very, very early on in that process, because at the time I was 11 or so, very early on is when he hired Luke here, who pretty much figured out how to build those things head to toe by himself. So he really knows the ins and outs, because Luke he was a local guy from the area. He didn't really know too much about pinball. I don't need to explain this. You can explain this.
No, I just walked in one day. I guess my grandma was actually the village clerk at the time in the business incubator where Chuck started. And he was just saying that he needed to start hiring people to actually build the games. And he didn't have anyone to actually do that. But they had, between him and Ben, they had, engineered everything, gotten everything ready to go. Had all the parts actually, for the most part, sitting there in the incubator unit. It was like, I want to say it was 12 games worth of parts at the time.
Which was a crazy high number.
Yeah, it is.
Stacked against the walls. But I walked in, he interviewed me, super roughly, and just hired me with no qualifications at all whatsoever right out of high school.
That's nice. Nice.
And then I just got started building, and pretty much went from there. So
yeah, and that's my second question. Like, I've seen that you are from a relatively small town of Benton, and in Wisconsin, and the business is also located there. I mean, and I wanted to ask you, how difficult was it to, aside from Luke, because that you just told the story, how difficult was it to get the right people, the designers, to find the right people for this kind of job?
Hiring people is still a challenge to this day at times. There's always an influx of all of a sudden 20 people want to work here, and then you lose a bunch, you get more, lose a bunch. It never ends. It's always, well, now we're overstaffed, now we're understaffed, now we're overstaffed. So it's just like any other business, really. I mean, getting people in the door, we don't require a whole lot of qualifications, really. If you walk in and ask for a job, most of the time you're getting hired. So
you just have to love your job. You have to love pinball, I guess. So
there's no college degree for this. I mean, you just kind of have to want to do it. And the people who really stuck around and cared are the ones who ended up designing this game. I mean, so like Luke came in with no pinball experience prior, and the other designer on the game, AJ, also came in with just no pinball experience whatsoever. He just came in, he was fresh out of college, and he needed a job at the time, so we just took him on, and he invested himself a great deal, as did Luke, obviously, and they've both worked themselves up to the position to be doing what they do. and then I was just already here because
Yeah. So basically, most of your crew is from your area. It's local.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
And it was already this way in the beginnings, so you didn't really search precisely.
I feel like Ben Heck was like probably the main first talent, obviously, because he has all the knowledge as far as like the boards, the controlling system, electronics, all that stuff. I mean, he had a show. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but he had a show where he built all kinds of crazy gadgets, like Hot Pocket Xbox controllers and giant calculators and stuff like that.
I'm gonna check that out for sure.
You know, there was definitely other talents that came along the way, like outside ones like David Van Ness, Scott Denisi, Bowen, Karens, people like that.
Yeah, because we do employ people across the map as well. Like not everybody works in-house. We have a lot of people who work from California, Colorado, Texas, Boston. I mean, just everywhere.
Yeah, and you said that there is quite a big rotation in the crew. What's the size of the crew? What's the number of people that are making a pinball table come to life?
In-house currently, I think we have about 20.
Yeah, about 20
employees or so.
Doubling that over the course of this night.
Yeah.
Basically.
All right. So making a pinball table, a pinball machine, to be exact, is quite an elaborate and very difficult task, in my opinion, and it requires a lot of precision and planning. And what were the main difficulties when you started Spooky Pinball, and what were your goals or the mission of your company at that time?
I would say it's always been pretty much parts and quality. So when you're running the supply chain, it gets pretty ugly. I mean, every supplier, and you're talking 100 suppliers, they have different lead times, different times they get back ordered, things like that. And if you don't have, something simple as like a 5 and 12 volt power supply, then you can't really even get started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be pretty easy, or other things, especially like during the last year here, plywood for pinball cabinets and stuff like that. Getting material to CNC the pinball cabinets and stuff has been really tough. Computer parts, things like that. So I would say 50% of the main struggle over the course of the last 8 years has been having all of the parts here on time at the highest quality, or at the quality that we want to see them go into the games at.
Because I mean, even if we sometimes can get a part like a box of power supplies, it doesn't mean it didn't get dropped in shipping, and hey, all of those are junk.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was deciding which ones to put in.
Yeah.
Is this part to the quality that our customers want to see? If it's not, how long is it going to take us to, source a higher quality part, or wait for new ones to come in, etc. And then the other part is just getting people trained, because obviously, like I said, nobody has pinball manufacturing experience, so it's all just learning as you go. So coming up with the physical process of building the games in bulk has been the other half the struggle, I would say.
And do you have like trainers specified for this test? So a new guy comes up, he says he wants to work with you, and you say, okay, what do you want to go? What do you want to do here? And then you train the talent in that direction, or how is it?
Yeah, we'll always set them with like a veteran of whatever area they're on. If they're in pinball, if they're in playfield wiring or playfield assembly, or if they're in like mini playfield assembly, cabinet, basically, I'll set them up in one area, but I always try to let them know too, like, you can move around. There's 15 jobs in this building, so if this one's not for you, maybe the other one is, but they always get pretty much set with a veteran of that department, because we do have a lot of people that have been here for a really long time.
Yeah.
Out of our crew, maybe out of the 20, maybe 15 of us have all been here for at least probably 3-4 years. So
so what
yeah, our lead playfield wire is Seth. He's wired over 1,000 boards now, over 1,000 just himself. So he's definitely a veteran.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge number. Speaking about wiring, I was wondering, have you created your own system or program that controls the tables, or did you start from scratch, or did you have some basis to work with um, on your tables?
That was actually something that originally, even all the way back to AMH, the Parker Dillman and Ben Heck got together and designed the Pinheck board back then, I believe it was called. And then along the way, we did use the Jerry Stellenberg's P-Rock system, P3 P-Rock. And then now we are back to this time it's the Pinatar, but that was also Parker Dillman was the lead board engineer on that. So the people smarter than me handle that stuff.
All right.
Otherwise, David Fosma, our programmer, uses Unity as far as that goes. Did we freeze up?
No, it's all right.
There we are.
I can see you. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about one of your newest tables and one of my favorites. I haven't tried it yet, of course. It's difficult in Hungary to try our tables, but I've seen that one of the newest pinball tables from you is the classic from John Carpenter, Halloween, which is quite fitting for the upcoming holidays.
Yep.
The layout of this table, it looks crazy with the 3 mini play fields and especially I like those. The light show is perfect on this one. Can you give us, the viewers and me, some insight? How was this layout designed and how it ties the gameplay together?
The original layout actually started in his basement. Him and a couple other guys started throwing it together down there, and along the process I eventually graduated high school and he asked me to join in, and I did. And around that time is when the game was already brought to the shop, and eventually I moved in with him for a while. Yeah. we were
living together.
I would say pinball. We literally were just roommates designing games all day, all night,
nice.
all the time pretty much. And originally the layout, we were starting it as John Wick, the Keanu Reeves movies, and eventually things just kind of lined up that we knew it was going to become Ultraman, and we needed A+ title to go with Ultraman because we weren't sure if that could sell per se over 1,000 units or not. So we ended up throwing Halloween with it as well. And I would say at that point we made Halloween more like the lead focus of design work for the game. But yeah, that's kind of where we came from with that. And
yeah, I think along the way as we added stuff, we weren't really focused on anything besides just making like the best game that we could. So we're just trying to throw everything into it that we possibly can. And we're trying to figure out how many features can we get in this game. So we just kept stacking higher. Yeah. And we were a little worried as we went about like play speed and stuff like that, if it was going to be too compartmentalized, you know, because obviously that can get a little weird, especially when you can't shoot between the play fields. But we did want them to be different individual areas where it felt like you were playing a separate game. And I think we actually did a really good job of that, and they're totally different. Like the mid-level playfield is kind of just a hit straight on towards target and scoops, and then the top is actually a really cool combo loop and everything. It's got a lot more flow and everything. So just a lot of contrast throughout the whole game. But I think a lot of it just came to us being, you know, young guys, and we just wanted to throw as much stuff in there as we could and just see how far we could go with it. So,
and we were never afraid to take things out that we didn't like. Like the amount of revisions that those playfields have seen is just crazy. What the game looks like now looks 0% what it looked like from the start, other than say like the base playfield. But like the uppers and how you get to them and where they go changed hundreds of times. We're never afraid to stop and scrap an idea. Nobody here gets too stubborn about like, but I came up with this and I really want to do it. There's never been an argument in that aspect. Everybody's always universally agreed, like, yeah, that's the best possible outcome we want for that. So,
you know,
it's a very healthy relationship.
Yeah, and the table has a lot of unique mechanics, like the plunger is like this knife handle, and the interactive Michael toys. What are your favorites on the Halloween table, and what were the most challenging ones to make the toys work with the theme or with the flow of the game?
I don't know if anything particular was the most challenging as far as like a feature.
It was just
hard. Fitting them together, having that many playfields sitting on top of each other without like wiring interfering or the bottom of mechs or anything like that. Because I mean, when you have drop targets on the main playfield, middle playfield, and top playfield, those stick down like, 4 or 5 inches or whatever. So it can get pretty challenging. It was more challenging to jigsaw it all together once we knew that the parts that we had were like really, really good, really fun. But most of the mechanisms weren't challenging to make.
As far as our favorites go, though, I definitely like the hedge Michaels.
Yeah.
Having him pop out behind the hedge and shooting it like whack-a-mole, it's such a fun idea.
Yeah, I like that one too. But the mini playfields are for sure, and the flow, how you made it. Like I can only see it on YouTube videos, but I've seen the rules and I've seen the gameplay, and it flows perfectly. So it's not like, okay, we are stopping the game here, too much stopping there. So I think you did a great job with that one.
Thank you.
And from all your tables, do you have a favorite mechanic? Do you have a favorite design that you are really proud of, or you wanna emphasize?
Favorite design? I mean, I really love Halloween Ultraman. I'm really happiest with how that one came out.
The guillotine in Alice Cooper is a pretty
cool really cool mech. I really like the Frankenstein mech in Alice Cooper as well.
Can you tell me about this, because I haven't seen it?
In Alice Cooper, there's a center upper playfield, and off the center upper playfield there's a right side backhand upper flipper shot that throws it through like a actual guillotine with a blade on it, and then it goes down a habit trail that does a really cool 360 spiral down to the in lane. So that was probably one of the cooler mechs it's ever been in one of the games. That game actually has a couple pretty neat mechs. So.
Definitely go check that out. And which one of your pinball tables are the most successful from your lineup? Do you have it?
Definitely
Halloween.
We did 1,750 units of Halloween Ultraman, and that's more than double anything else that we've ever produced to this date. So it's definitely our most successful.
So it blew everything out of the water.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty was kind of our like slam hit before that, and that was 750. So we tacked an extra 1,000 onto that. So.
Jesus, nice.
And equally scary the next day.
Yep.
So speaking about Halloween, it came to my mind like how it features original sounds and original scores from the music of the classic film. How hard it is to start working on a new IP or a new team. Do you have to knock on IP holders' doors, or do they reach out to you and say, hey guys, please do this team? Or how is it going?
It's both, honestly. We've been approached by numerous bands and movie titles and video game titles and board game titles. It's very common to be approached by people, and then for bigger studios such as like Disney, like Stern goes to Disney a lot, or Warner Brothers or Lionsgate or things like that, DC, those you typically do have to approach most of the time. But it's kind of 50-50. A lot of people approach us, we approach a lot of people. So
what happened with Halloween? So how was it? Halloween,
David Van Ness was friends with the licensor. He had a relationship built with them, along with the artist Jason Edmiston, who also had a close relationship with the licensor, and he just basically knew that he could go and get it, essentially.
Nice.
So he sought that out for us and got the license for us.
Back to one more question about the design. You said you had to scratch a lot of designs. How long did it take you to stick with the final version? So in the basement, Luke told us that you were planning it and designing it in the basement. How long did it take you guys?
It was over the course of a couple of years. I think about 18 months till it was actually finished. But with the 18 months, for probably 4 or 5 months on that, we didn't work on it very much during the COVID thing and everything.
Yeah.
So we weren't in the office for a lot of that. So a lot of it, and at the time we also didn't know that it was going to be the next game. So we weren't rushing. We were just working on it a couple hours here on a Friday, a couple hours there on a Friday, just coming up with ideas and things like that. We weren't in any kind of production mindset, really.
Yeah, it was just a weekend hobby and hangout for the most part.
Yeah. So there was no pressure from either from you or from anything outside. Like you have to make this one due to I don't know in 2 months. You had time to make the best of what you
absolutely
imagined. Yeah. Maybe that's why it's your fan favorite table because that's your heart and soul in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just trying to do the best job we could, I think. And there was no job, there was no punching the time clock to do it or anything. So that's just it. It was all just to make it as cool as we could.
And you were working on something else parallelly, like in the same time, when you were designing Halloween. So you said it was like a weekend project, but on the weekdays you were designing something else for a deadline, for example, or
no.
Weekdays we were building Rick and Morty.
Yeah, we're right on the line. I mean, we're right in it with the guys every day, right next to them working and everything. We don't just sit up in the office or anything. We're down in there in it. So
pretty much all of our time spent designing is done in our own time. It's done
time,
on pretty much. Even the other layouts that we've been working on, we've done them on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and we just come in here, hang out for a few hours, and pluck away at it and get done what we like to get done. Because during the week we have to be running the rest of the company.
Yeah. And can you share some information about what you're working on now, or some super secret info which can be exclusive to this show? Do you want to share? Can you share?
I don't know. We actually said anything yet.
We haven't really teased anything too much.
Well, I'll tell you this. We are excited enough about the next one that we were wanting to go back and do more to the previous one at the end before we released it, because we thought we were doing such a better job.
Yeah.
As far as the next design goes. So.
On the day that we launched Halloween Ultraman, I was looking at it like, I feel like I should be more excited about this, but I'm so much more excited about what the next game is.
I guess we'd been working on it for a couple of years, so some of the things weren't as exciting as they originally were when we made them anymore. But we're extremely excited about the next one. Extremely.
All right, looking forward to it.
It'll definitely stay on the theme of putting as much in there as we possibly can. So,
absolutely.
All right, so I don't want to. I can see that you have your secrets. I don't want to mess with those, but we are really excited about the next one. And I have one more question. Like, do you have a active pinball community in your area, or do you organize pinball tournaments or pinball related events?
There's not per se an intensely active community around here. There's an arcade about 20 minutes from here called Back Pocket in Dubuque. It's pretty busy a lot of the time. I go there pretty often with some friends and with Luke, because and Luke. That sounded so mean. we go there and hang out pretty often, and then there is some local tournament guys around here that host that I like to go and partake in every now and then, but there's not a whole lot of communities around here, no, just because it's such a small town in Wisconsin.
And do you have your in-house tournaments for the crew?
Because we work Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days.
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch that.
We work Monday through Thursday, and we work 10-hour days. So every Thursday night, at the end of the night, you would think all of our workers would want to leave and get out of here and go home and everything, but instead they stay and drink beer and play pinball.
Nice.
And kind of have a little party
nice.
every Thursday night after work. So
that's really nice.
Probably 5-6 years now. So
and who's the champion? Who's the best player?
I don't know who the best player is, but I know Seth is by far the most dedicated pinball fan here. He actually has some of his own games. He's worked on some of his own games, and he definitely leads the Thursday pinball party.
He loves to play.
And between the two of you, Luke and Bug, which one of you is better?
Me. It's pretty definitive that I'm a lot more experienced. I mean, he wasn't.
He's being sarcastic.
Yeah, he's by far and away a better player than me. I'm amateur at best.
He's better than he gives credit for.
Humble.
He does
He's
good.
humble, yeah. Okay, guys, do you want to share something else? Do you want to talk about something else? Because I have.
I want to talk about. I want to talk about your games.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of a fan of your guys' stuff.
So, fun story. About 4 or 5 months ago, Luke started sending me these links, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever looked at these digital pinball things?" And I was like, "Not really. No, I haven't seen too much about them." He's like, "I found this place called Zen Pinball. You need to, or Zen Studios. You need to check this out." And he sent me the link to Jaws, and we got super hooked on watching all your guys' stuff. We think your theme integration is just outstanding. Like we've drawn inspiration from your guys' theme integration and input into our next layouts.
Yeah,
For real.
I was fanboying out pretty hard, and I had just discovered you guys. I didn't know anything about. I had always heard about the virtual pinball stuff, and I grew up on video games, not pinball. So I'm actually like that's more natural to me. But I started watching your guys' videos.
Digital. You mean digital is more natural to you than a physical?
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually because when I was a kid, I mean, for 15 years, I loved video games. I loved everything about video games. So that was definitely more second nature to me than the mechanical stuff is learned as an adult. But yeah, when I just happened to be scrolling through YouTube and I saw a trailer for your guys' Jaws game, and I was like, whoa, these guys have got to be massive.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool table, and we are happy to hear that you drew some inspiration from those tables.
Yeah, we started siphoning through your whole catalog, just looking at everything, trying to figure out because we love that you don't have certain limitations. If you want the shark to jump out of the game, you can do that. And so a lot of what we do is just look at that and say, okay, we understand that we can't have a shark jump out of our playfield, but could we do something close to that?
Yeah,
something similar.
How close can we get?
Because it led us down some really interesting, cool paths. So
that's for sure. That's what I wanted to tell. Like you because you have to think about, okay, how do I replicate, for example, a jump sharking out of the water without an animation?
Right.
You might come up with some really interesting and groundbreaking or new ideas for pinball. But
that was exactly where we were at. If we could even get close to the level of the features that you guys have in virtual physical pinball, it would be.
Yeah, that's a huge difference between physical and digital. Obviously, that the limitations are there for physical, and basically there are not much limitations when you're doing digital. Of course, there are some animation-wise or some IP barricades, for example, but most of the time you can do whatever you imagine and whatever you can do.
You guys seem to be super successful as well at securing IPs. I mean, you have several really, really large titles. I was pretty blown away by that too. The amount of titles that you were able to do.
Yeah, and
across the board, a ton of them.
Yeah, and we are planning to do some really, really cool ones, which I cannot really talk about right now, but there are going to be some fresh tables which will be really, really interesting for very cool IPs. I can't.
Awesome.
Yeah, these are secrets for sure. But stay tuned. Stay tuned for sure.
Awesome, sweet man.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you for your time, and I hope that we will have some information of the new Spooky Pinball table soon. And good luck for the rest of the work you do, and keep up the good work. It's really nice to see the quality physical pinball tables on the market.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good luck with everything you have coming up as well. We're super excited to see it.
Okay, we'll keep in touch.
Yep, for sure. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.